Okay.
I just wondered if you got bringing the phone. There's an updated agenda.
There is?
That's an updated.
Wait. Thank you.
Was that the one on the back table?
No, I haven't switched them out. I got them.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna, I wanna.
Yep, not the updated one, but probably.
I know, believe me, that is a sore spot with a lot of folks. Trust me, you just want to see everybody at the back to say everything. Maybe I'll go down there and pick up that building. Well, office space, conference room space.
Just a small thing.
This week to be over.
It's Tuesday.
I know.
Is this on the file?
Just been here, right? My husband got hired at UPS.
Yep.
Wednesday. We had an interview 3 months ago. Wednesday,
Good.
they called,
Good.
"We're
How are
gonna
you?"
offer you a job. I'm gonna send you training on Monday. I said Thursday.
Hello. There you go,
I'll do
Commissioner.
this job and quit.
What's it say? What's it say?
And it's like, the week before, it's been a divorce. It's been a lot of life changes, just ready for a break.
That's up here. I'll tell you.
I'm waiting for us to shut down again. I'm really, I'm like panicked. The good thing is we're just cyber school, so that's really affect us.
See if,
I'll be right back.
Maybe some Tony's
I
office.
should get out to it. I can't think, they told me to last for maybe 10 minutes. It's like, I can't get away from my kids to get to the store yet.
That's my son.
I'm thinking about what we would do.
No, and now you have to go find everything and then pay that game all over.
Oh, and like Christmas stuff, like my kids are really difficult for Christmas this year. And then I just saw, this is really depressing. Yesterday, one of the local tree posted that they're not gonna sell trees. This lady was selling a big one on Facebook, and I was this close, my husband's such a big believer in it's tradition.
I bought one last year.
Did you?
Yeah, and I always loved
And now, like.
Yeah, and my husband, he's like, oh my God, I don't know, it's really weird. And when I saw that, I was like,
And I don't think
heartbroken.
he's
I'm like,
quiet about it, before. I think you're gonna have a
we
lot.
better go tag a tree in hopes that they'll still let it go back and down.
I don't know what's gonna happen. See the numbers increase.
So, I don't know.
Yeah. Put it up on the wall, little stuff now.
Yeah, I know, right?
Get to a point in your life when,
I know. Yeah.
but with little ones, you can make an experience out of it, run out.
Well, this is what that's your.
And that's the kids kind of that, because I was decorating. So here's a big tree for $60.
You know, those
Trees.
I finally converted my husband last week.
Like, daughter and brother on the sidewalk.
Well, they're so
Yeah, they're second better.
Yeah, it was like $40 last year. I can't imagine what it's gonna be like this year.
And that's why, let's say, in about 2 more years, I'll have my tree full. Right. My favorite. Right.
Yeah.
He is seeing some come through.
I'll sell it to you now.
Okay, right?
There you go. It's got lights on it and everything. That's the greatest.
I know, lights are like, I hate decorating the tree.
Me too. Do you know what I did? I did it on my own. And then I invite my sister and I babysit and I leave and she
The
does
stuff they put in their body.
fluffs it for like hours and.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
they're younger, but
Yeah.
they're not healthy. Yeah, they're not healthy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't find, I think all my Christmas decorations stuff got ruined because we got in water.
Yeah, that's a big one, yeah.
So I was looking yesterday and I was like, I think all my stuff's gone. I guess I need to, I'm just gonna go to Dollar Tree and buy some cheapy stuff to put up this year.
You
supposed to kick off this Friday.
Was it instantaneous, do you think?
I've got time to use for this. The end of the year cleanup stuff.
Yeah.
I've already put under creation, and it just keeps going. I have to figure out something different. And I can't do it for myself. And that's just too much.
All right, Maya's on.
Okay, hi Maya.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
How are you doing?
Hi, Commissioner. We'll be with you shortly.
Commissioner Metzger.
Yes.
I just want to let you know, do you want me to just run through the normal process? Or?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yep, thank you.
Yep.
You dialed the 0051.
Yep, they're online.
Okay.
No?
I don't know what you do. Actually, he's calling out room right now.
Okay. We have a slight delay, we'll be right with you.
She said it was Tony Smith box last time. Let's see if he had it.
I got my flu shot paper in. I'm just waiting for a dentist paper. My flu shot paper in. I'm just waiting for a dentist paper.
You got it? That's
He decided, I'm trying. Trying.
Good morning, we apologize for the delay. I ask you to please stand for the opening prayer and pledge of allegiance. Father in heaven, so many times our prayers are filled with what we want instead of being thankful for what we have. You instruct us to bring everything to you in prayer, but we should be eternally grateful for the blessings you have bestowed upon us. During this Thanksgiving season, remind us to give thanks to you, Lord. Lord, you're the great physician. We pray for those that are sick, that you'll fully restore them. Give each of us strength daily. We pray that you eradicate this invisible enemy that continues to wreak havoc throughout the world. There are so many hurting at this time, but you have promised you will never leave or forsake us. May we take refuge in your love and protection. We ask you to guide us through this meeting. Grant us your wisdom that we do your will, lead our constituents with sound decisions. Lord, you instruct us in your word not to be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present our request to you. May we in this Thanksgiving season and each day throughout the year remember and follow these words. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll convene the Commissioners' public meeting at this time. We have Commissioner Massar on the line here today. We ask for approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Massar seconds. All in favor say aye.
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 So carried. Public comment on agenda items only at this time. Okay, hearing none. We have a bid opening.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
We have the leachate storage tank liner bid. We only received one bid. It's from Worth and Company. $7,894,000. $7,894,000.
Okay. Thank you. Maya?
Yeah. Scott, I could not hear the price.
Okay. Go ahead, Nikki.
$7,894,000.
Did you get that?
For the storage tank liner?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's as much as the tank originally cost.
More.
I don't understand that.
Commissioner
I do
Mercer.
not understand that.
Commissioner Mercer, this is Jason Yorks.
Yeah.
We'll be accepting the bid. We'll review it and go from there. I'm guessing that's probably some kind of a tank inside of a tank idea. But yeah, we're going to accept the bid and then we'll review it with our engineering firm and go from there.
Yeah, and just to be clear for the public, accepting the bid doesn't mean that we're going ahead with the bid. It means that we're going to review it and accept it and examine it and so forth. I think that's what Mr. Yorks is referring to.
Correct, Commissioner. Thank you.
In other words, there's nothing wrong with the way they submitted the bid that we can see so far. So we will.
Well, I'm going to make a comment here. This is ridiculous. And it just further goes on. The more we procrastinate the legal aspect of the goddamn claim, the more this is going on. We probably have $16 million at the very least that we've paid out so far and no action. How long are we going to continue to pay until this company's held responsible? This is ridiculous.
Yeah, and I share your this is Commissioner Maravito. I share your.
But then let's proceed with the lawsuit because we cannot continue down this path.
Right. The only thing I was going to suggest is that it's probably better for us not to get into all the details of the litigation now, but we're definitely proceeding with the lawsuit, and I think we've made that abundantly clear. I mean, we're in, we've been moving on it.
This is just one contractor's solution.
Right. By the way, having a $7 million bid comes in, says to the company that we're suing, you better come to the table and you better deal with this, because those costs are on them. So, but I share your concern.
Commissioner, I can share your concern also, because I've been saying since I ran for office that this has been nothing but a nightmare, a total debacle that's costing the county a ton of money.
Well, I want to see the difference between an inner tank and the other first proposed tank. Okay, the first one was a tank, zero leaking, and that didn't work. What tank? What engineering company is going to put their seal on this that this won't leak? Or is there different guidelines or thresholds that it may be able to leak a little bit? We need to know that before we give approval on another tank.
And I believe we're into year 6 now on this, going on to year 7.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Well, it's very concerning, to say the least. Who is the engineering firm?
It's Worth and Company.
Where are they out of?
They're out of Pipersville, PA.
Okay.
And Jason, they're guaranteeing this?
What's that, Commissioner?
And they are guaranteeing no leak?
Sir, I've not reviewed the bid. That's what I'm saying. We will accept today's bid. We will review it and go from there.
All right.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, Maya?
Yep. The next item we have is accounts payable cash requirement report, and that would be Nikki.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
The report total today is $970,429.05. Did you have any questions? Note that the grants and pass-throughs are 45% of that. We have the COVID first round of small business payments in this week's check run.
Yep. All that. Okay. Any questions or discussion? I have a motion to accept accounts payable.
I'll move to approve the accounts payable.
I'll second. All in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki.
The next item is 4.0 personnel actions. Roxanne Greco's here.
Morning, Roxanne.
Good morning, Commissioners. Commissioners, I would ask that we move to 5.0 before we go to 4.0, because the TDA actions is creating a position that we are trying to fill in the personnel actions.
Okay.
If we could do that first, please.
Yes.
Under TDA actions at the prison, we're going to ask to create one new part-time LPN pay grade 7.
Okay. Any questions or discussion?
So the public understands that we always have challenges staffing our nurses at the prison, and so the creation of this part-time position is hopefully going to help us when we have someone on vacation or someone out on sick and so forth. And we actually, in some ways, this is going to help relieve some of that pressure. That's great.
Okay.
By the way, it's not health. There's no health care payments and there's no pension payments. The part-time employee is limited to 1,000 hours a year.
I have a motion to accept the TDA action.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 And Commissioners, then moving back to 4.0 personnel actions. In soil conservation, Mark Davidson as a temporary part-time conservation district special projects, pay grade 12. $38.14769 per hour, effective November 23rd, 2020. At the prison, Nicole Dawson as a part-time LPN, pay grade 7, $23 an hour, effective November 18th, 2020. In the courts at MDJ Kemp, Marianne May as a full-time clerk 3, pay grade 4, $13.95 an hour, effective November 30th, 2020. In the courts, Kayla Shireman as a full-time clerk 3. This is a replacement position. Pay grade 4, $13.95 an hour, effective November 29th, 2020. And finally, in adult probation, Riley Thomas as a full-time probation officer. This is a replacement position. Pay grade APO, $20.10 an hour, effective November 30th, 2020.
Okay, so these are all replacement positions that have to do with the court's probation, the prison, and the soil conservation position is temporary and is for 75 hours. Any questions or discussion? Have a motion to accept.
I'll move to accept.
I second.
All fair say aye.
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 So carried.
All right, moving on to 7.0, reports and information items.
Hang on one second, Maya.
Oh, sorry.
We have 6.0. We're going to recess the Commissioners' public meeting at this time and go to the salary board action.
Commissioners, at the prison, once again, under our salary schedule, we'd like to create one new part-time LPN, pay grade 7.
Okay, I have a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
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 So carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll adjourn the salary board actions at this time and go to reconvene the Commissioners' public meeting and go to information reports, item 7.
All right, sorry about that.
That's okay. You're new at this.
Yes, I'm doing it from a phone. So, 7.1, the county is going to be requesting bids for food products. It's the for the new quarter for 2021.
Okay.
And then the next item we have, 7.2, it's a proclamation for the coroner's office.
Okay.
You want to do that?
Okay, go ahead. Commissioner Marabito is going to read it here.
Proclamation. Whereas the safety of children in Lycoming County is of the utmost importance, and whereas thousands of infants in the United States die each year due to placement in an unsafe sleeping environment, infant fatalities caused by unsafe sleeping environments are entirely preventable. And whereas the safest sleeping environment for infants is alone in an empty crib, while lying on their backs with a tightly fitted sheet, as well as warm, comfortable sleepwear. And whereas the National Institute of Child Health and Human Development provides family members and child care providers with access to resources about creating safe sleeping environments for infants on their website. Now, therefore, the Commissioners of Lycoming County hereby proclaim the month of November 2020 as Infant Safe Sleep Month in Lycoming County, and we encourage the community to spread awareness of how to create a safe sleeping environment for young children throughout the county. In witness whereof, we have set our hands and sealed the 17th day of November 2020. Lycoming County Commissioners signed, Scott L. Metzger, Chairman, Tony R. Macera, Vice Chairman, Richard Marabito, Secretary.
We have our coroner, Chuck Kiesling, with us today. Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioners, for doing that. And I'd also like to thank Garth Everett, Representative Garth Everett, who's also sponsored proclamation in Harrisburg, again, to raise the awareness across the state. And he's done that for probably close to 7-8 years. And so, and we've definitely seen a decrease in infant deaths in Lycoming County, unfortunately, up until about the last year. This past year, we've had several deaths that, through the investigation, were in unsafe sleep environments. So it's so important that we just keep raising awareness. We've had a lot of help with UPMC Susquehanna, with the labor and delivery postpartum staff. They're on board with doing education out there. And Kate's been doing the education here in my office. We're distributing cribs throughout the community. And you know, it's definitely made a difference over the last 10 years that we've really kept the program going. So I'm gonna let Kate, like I said, Kate's kind of the expert. I'll let her talk a little bit about the program as well. So
okay,
thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Kate.
Good morning. If you can't hear me, I'll take my mask off, but I'm usually pretty loud, I think, alone. So.
I think the problem is the microphone. Does it?
Yeah.
Does it muffle?
Yeah,
the
it muffles the
okay,
mic. That's
okay.
the only reason why we ask you to do it.
That's okay. Good morning, Commissioners. Again,
morning.
Thank you for remembering Safe Sleep again this year for November, as well as Representative Garth Everett. We wish him well with this. Is last year doing it with him since he's going to be retiring. I think all of the staff in the coroner's office would agree that dealing with the deaths of children is the most difficult that we deal with. Over the years, we've taken part in absolutely as much childhood injury prevention as possible in our community, but for today our topic is safe sleep in infants. As a mom with 2 young boys, safe sleep has always been near and dear to my heart, and this year is no different, especially after the deaths of 3 babies in unsafe sleep environments in Lycoming County for 2020. And we also had one at the end of 2019 as well. In promoting safe sleep, we refer back to the ABCs. Baby should be alone. To avoid entrapment, strangulation, and suffocation, no blankets, pillows, wedges, positioners, bumpers, or stuffed toys should be in the crib with baby. No people, pets, or things should be sleeping with the baby. Baby should be in a wearable blanket instead of regular blankets. In spite of some popular beliefs, there is no safe way to bed share with a baby. Parents should share their room with their baby for the first year. Babies should sleep on their backs, that's the B. Once a baby can roll over on their own, there's no need to adjust them throughout sleep, but continue to put them down on their back. C is for crib. A baby should sleep in a safety-approved crib for every nap and at bedtime. Unless a baby is in a moving car, they should not be sleeping in their car seat. The same risk applies to strollers, swings, incline sleepers, automated rockers, and anything other than flat on their backs on a firm surface. Additional practices that reduce the risk of SIDS: breastfeed for the first 6 months, avoid exposure to cigarette smoke, use a clean pacifier for sleep time, prevent overheating and keep the baby's room temp around 72 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. The most important tip is to share these tips with other adults and caregivers for your child. Outside of that, as Chuck had mentioned, I've kind of taken over the Lycoming County Cribs for Kids program. COVID has brought many challenges. I know lots of parents are challenged right now, myself included, with how that has changed our lives. It shouldn't change our safe sleep environments for our local babies. If you can't afford a pack and play or a crib for your baby, we are still actively offering pack and plays to any low-income families in need or families struggling through the pandemic. So we just want to put that out there. That hasn't put a stop on Cribs for Kids. I'm continuing to do that. The program over the past couple years we've provided about 40 to 50 pack and plays a year. So that's a significant number, with over 200 provided within the lifetime of Cribs for Kids since about 2008, 2009, I believe, when the program was started. So.
I want to thank you all for doing this. You know, there's nothing in the state statute that says the coroner's office needs to be involved in safe sleep for kids, but obviously you understand from your experience, and so you've taken the initiative to do this for many years, and we just want to thank you on behalf of the people of the county.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Can we get just a photo so we...
Yeah.
For those at home, we've got a baby in the crib here.
I'll wake it up.
You want me to take it?
Yeah, come on.
Just hit the button, right?
Yeah.
I think I can handle that.
You want us to hold it high, or?
Everybody say cheese. Oh, oh. Try again. There we go.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Okay, Maya.
All right. Then moving to 8.0, action items. The first, 8.1 through 8.5 are all me, so I'll start with 8.1. which is vote on emergency resolution 2020-34 for the Muncie Creek Stream Bank Stabilization Project. If you recall, back in 2019, we did a project for stabilization work for Muncie Creek. After reviewing, it was determined that there are some urgent concerns with the effectiveness of the stabilization work. So what is being required from the PA Department of Environmental Protection is that we do additional immediate stabilization work on the project before any water levels rise significantly. So in order to do that, the estimated cost of this work is $146,000, and we're declaring an emergency so we can proceed with the process outside of the bidding process. And to note that this is also going to be 100% reimbursed from DEP as well for the project.
Okay, any questions or comments? We have a motion to approve the resolution 2020-34.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 So carried. Go ahead.
The next item is to vote on the fiscal year 2020-2021 Hazardous Material Response Fund grant agreement with the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency. It's in the amount of $20,952. This is a renewal grant agreement that we got, and it's in the amount, like I said, of $20,952, and it helps the Department of Public Safety develop hazardous material response program.
Any questions or discussion? A motion to approve the fund grant agreement with PEMA in the amount of $20,952.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So carried.
The next item is to acknowledge the list of approved contracts by the Director of Administration for the month of September, and there were only 3.
Any questions or comments? Motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Let me just let the public know. So
Yeah.
McClure Company, it was a hot water boiler service for about $2,300. There was Melillo Consulting, which was restoration of backups and document extractions. That was about $9,400.
Okay.
The next item is acknowledge the list of approved contracts by the Director of Administration for the month of October. And there were 13 of those.
And any questions or comments?
They range from uniforms, some service contract for trucks, workforce development. This was probably, that was with PCT. These are contracts under 10,000, which need to be signed to move things along.
Correct. Including the Timber Run subdivisions.
Right. That's a good point.
Yep. Okay, I have a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
So carried.
The next item I have is to vote on 3 bill of sales for the surplus of property. 2 of them are with Lou Cagagnano. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce the last name. And then that's in the amount of $2,100. And then one with Gary Trait, and that's in the amount of $5,300. All of these were generators that were no longer of use and were being stored out at DPS.
Okay, I have a motion to accept.
I'll move to accept.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried.
The next item is Nikki Gottschall. It's to discuss the remaining balance of the 2020 ADEC. It's in the amount of $945,444.
Okay, Nikki.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
The 2020 ADEC actuarially determined employer contribution for this year was $1,945,440. The commissioners did approve on September 10th to put $1 million into the retirement fund. The retirement board recommended last week that we bring this in front of the commissioners to see if they want to put the remaining balance in the retirement fund for 2020.
The ADEC was 1,945,444.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Was it budgeted in from last year's budget?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
So here's the problem if we don't sort of keep up with our contributions to the pension fund. Actuaries sit down and calculate how many people we have, the age, their life expectancy, how many they think are going to retire at certain ages and so forth. And then they give us what's called an ADEC, which is the actuarially determined employer contribution. So that's what the employer. Now employees contribute 8% every day, all year long. And actually the pension fund didn't have contributions from the employer until I think about the year
2005, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought it was earlier than that, 2000.
Around there.
But it was in existence from like 74? 74? I think
it was 74.
Yeah. I think it's probably, I know that it's sometimes tempting to not put it in because, you say, well, we have money there. The problem is and last year we didn't put in the full amount. In 2019, we only put in, what did we put in? Can't remember the exact amount, but it wasn't the full amount.
It was not.
I think since it was budgeted, it might be prudent for us to fund it.
We have a fiduciary responsibility to fund the pensions, but we also have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers of this county, and that includes children and youth. That includes medical services. That includes a myriad of things that we're going to have to deal with without the certainty of the state budget. Now, what was the percentage that was funded so far? Because we've been great stewards of this fund, and we've contributed millions every year to this fund. And I do not believe, until we know exactly what is going to come down from the state, that it's in our best interest to put another $1 million into this pension until we find out where and what revenues we're going to be receiving from the state and federal government. This obviously, this pandemic is causing all kinds of havoc, and we, if we're at 90-some% funded, we may be making a mistake, and we can always get caught back up.
So if I just can respond, Commissioner, we put in so far about 51.4% of what the actuarially determined amount is. So we've put in about half of it for this year. Now last year we didn't put in the whole amount. The only problem with the thought of getting caught up is that this is really what's happened with these state pensions where they didn't fund them, and they're so far behind that it becomes very difficult. I agree with you that there's no question that we have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers. I think we also have as you said, we have a fiduciary responsibility to fund the pension fund, and well, we may not have we have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the assets of the pension fund are not wasted, so to speak. But I think that in fairness to our employees, if we budget and we have the funds, and they're holding up their end of the bargain, doing the 8%, I think that we have an obligation to do it. I understand your concern about the state budget. And listen, if the state budget comes back and it's very problematic, all three of us have been on record saying we're going to have to reopen the budget. and relook at it.
Commissioner, if I may make a motion.
Yeah.
I'd like the motion to table this until December. That way we'll know what the state budget is. They have a budget they're supposed to be releasing by November 30th. That way it can give us more clarification and insight on what's going to be coming to us from the state. It is in our budget for next year, but it would just give us more clarity. And
yeah, I'll move to second the motion. By the way, just as a comment on it, this is actually the 2020 contribution. So
right.
This was budgeted in 2019.
Yeah, it was already budgeted.
In our current, yeah.
But,
I agree to move to table it.
I think it would ease Commissioner Massar's concerns a little
Absolutely.
bit if we had those figures in front of us. Would you agree, Commissioner?
Yeah, I appreciate that motion.
Okay. So we'll table till the December Commissioners meeting once we know the state budget. Okay.
You want to take a vote on it?
Yes, I've made a motion. Can I have a second?
I seconded it.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. So carried. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. 8.7, Shannon Rossman, a vote on the allocation of COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant funds to Lycoming County businesses, which includes their subrecipient agreements, which are attached here too, and do not exceed $397,200.
Morning, Shannon.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is the next round of checks that we'll be handing out. There are around 40 or so on this list for a total of $397,200. We've already passed out the first round we've reached out. 15 of the 17 have received their checks so far. And we are scheduling these appointments as we speak.
Okay, again, this is wonderful news. We're using the CARES monies to assist our local businesses as we continue through this pandemic. It's so important to keep our local businesses and nonprofits and schools open. And this is a way we can do it. As we stated last week, there's a county, I'm not sure which county, I don't think it really matters. They took their funds and more or less kept them themselves.
$11 of $12 million they kept.
How much?
11 of $12 million.
11 of 12 million they kept, and they allocated $1 million for their residents. We did the reverse, and it's important because these are federal dollars that are taxpayers' money, and it's important it goes back to them to keep them operating until we get through this.
Yeah. The only problem with this money is that it is federal dollars, and it's with over 168 businesses and close to 50 nonprofits and firing it is taking us quite a while to get through all the documentation, because we have to be absolutely sure that we have the required documentation before we can issue a check.
And it's a credit to you and the committee and Maya's office and CEDACOG, because this is in Controller's office. I'm sorry, I don't want to leave anybody out, but it's a team effort, and it's so time consuming. It's basically a full-time job on top of a full-time job.
This is why I didn't go to college for to be an auditor or to be an accountant. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
we appreciate everybody's efforts because, again, you're servicing the people in our community, and
they're very thankful.
Yes.
We should note also that it's being done with a lot of transparency. The amounts that these businesses are receiving is being distributed to the media, and it's public record of how much each one has gotten. So it is your public tax dollars, your federal tax dollars at work. So.
And again, government can't sustain business. It can't sustain schools. It's so vital that we shop at these places and support these businesses and nonprofits, because that's the only way they're going to survive.
We're only able to help them through some of the rougher times.
Yes. Yeah. So we encourage everybody to, before you go online and buy something, think twice. If you can get it locally, please do so.
Yeah, that's really important. Now, and it's important for people to understand that these businesses then turn around and they pay payroll taxes, and they also obviously pay wages to people or other who would then go out in the community and buy other goods and services, send their kids to school, do it. So it's an economic system.
And they keep people employed. That's
Yeah, they keep people employed.
That's the key thing.
Yeah.
Because when this first started, as you saw the unemployment numbers climbed, they said there was a prediction that unemployment would be 42% and we'd be in a depression. Well, it's gone the other way. It's down to 6.7% nationally. And we want to continue to drop by keeping people operating, keeping them open, and keeping everything open through this pandemic.
By the way, a constituent just texted me and said that in fact they can understand us at the mic with the masks on.
Oh.
So we can leave our masks on.
Okay, can I have a motion?
On that?
I have a motion to accept.
I'll move to accept.
Commissioner?
I second.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So carried.
The next item again is Shannon. It's to vote on the submission of the Pipeline Investment Program grant application to the Commonwealth Finance Agency.
Could I
In the amount
interject?
of, actually, it's probably the wrong amount because that's just a county match. The overall total grant is $868,968. So I apologize for that error.
Commissioners, before we move on to the pipeline grant,
Yes.
Because there is no commissioners meeting, staff has been working a little overtime, and before you there is a second memo for business checks that because we would normally have brought this to you next week, if you could also approve this so they can get into the pipeline for getting checks cut. There are a total of 50 additional small business allocations for an amount of $486,000.
And that was submitted to us here, I
Yes.
think, this morning.
Yes.
50 additional?
50 additional small businesses. This will bring us up to about, I believe, 2/3 or so of the amount of checks that need to be cut.
And there's no meeting Thursday, so I think
No,
that's
yeah.
part of the
Yeah.
reason
No
why.
meetings next week either.
Yeah,
No meetings
that's
next
why
week
we
because of the holiday,
tried to
so
get
that's
this
why we're
in.
doing it today.
Yeah.
Because then we'll be bringing all the nonprofits and the rest of the small businesses to you then.
Is that the memo that,
That Kristen Moyer sent.
yeah,
Right.
to Maya,
To Maya,
Kristen Moyer,
yeah.
November 17th, yep?
Yep.
We
And
have,
just for purpose of the controller's office being there, just let them know, obviously I will be in contact with them to make sure we meet all, requirements and deadlines for the check run.
and there's 50 businesses listed here.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll move to approve the $486,000 for the second 50 additional small businesses.
I second the motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So carried. Now help expedite those.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Shannon, did you just want to go ahead and then move forward with the pipeline
Sure.
investment program?
Sure. Now, the next one, if you remember correctly, a couple weeks ago, Commissioners did a resolution for the pipeline investment program through the DCD and CFA with the state. Since then, we've gotten updated information. I have submitted the grant. I submitted it at 8 o'clock on Friday night. Now I have to send in a hard copy. The final totals from UGI came in with the estimated construction. So the letter of commitment that we're going to need, the amount we're asking for is $287,379. The letter of commitment will be then for $552,389. That's for the items, that's for the 50-50 match for the construction, and then the remaining parts that are not covered under the grant. And this is to run the gas line from where it currently is, down on the southern part of the property of the landfill over to the parcel that we're hoping to sell that we just subdivided to a manufacturing company. So, and one of the things that we had agreed that we would get utilities to the site. They will finish it after it gets to the site, but
That's
this
correct.
is, we need to do water, sewer, and gas. We probably will not have to do anything with electric because PP&L said it's close enough and the demand should be high enough that we shouldn't, I can't guarantee that, but we shouldn't have to do anything with electric. So this will give us at least almost $300,000 towards the cost of the gas main extension.
Okay, that's great news.
So the estimate is $868,968, and the grant is for the $287,379, and the balance
Is $552,389. I'll have a letter for you to sign after the meeting.
And that's gonna come from,
I believe that you were talking about Act 13 funds
right,
before.
so that's our contribution.
Yes,
but
that
we're
would be our
getting,
contribution.
right, okay. So this is exciting news, if that, we can get that manufacturer here, that'll bring some decent
And the
jobs.
reason we wanted to get it, I wanted to get it on Friday night, you know, was because if they have it by November 15th, they would potentially be able to get it at, who knows what the state schedule is, but they would potentially be able to review at the January meeting. So now I have to get the hard copy in with our revised documents.
Okay, thank you for expediting it. Okay, any other further questions or discussion? Have a motion to accept.
I'll move to accept.
Okay, for clarification.
Hang on one second, we haven't voted on it yet.
I'm sorry.
We have a motion to accept. We have a second. I'll second. All in favor say aye.
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 So that was the
Commissioner?
approval of 2020.0.
Maya, 1 second. Commissioner,
Okay.
can I have your vote for the record? Commissioner? You still there? Okay. Seem to have lost him.
Thank you, Shannon, for
Thank you.
for doing that. That is very important for the community.
And that was, the vote was for sending the grant application in and the letter of commitment for the $552,389. I think that's what Maya wanted to clarify.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that, you know, that was a combination of 8.8 and 8.9.
Yeah, maybe we should just vote on 8.9 separately because it's a resolution.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we also have the letter of commitment. That's why I brought that up.
Oh, okay.
So.
All right, I'll move to approve resolution 2020-033 as well as the letter of commitment.
I'll second. All in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll keep you informed of when that moves forward and if there's anything else going on with that. I will be attending the Brady Township meeting tomorrow night where the subdivisions for the KOZ will occur hopefully, and also the subdivision for this parcel. So we are moving forward with that.
Great,
so.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 8.10.
Yep. 8.10, Jenny Pinciano, vote on amendment number 2 to cooperative agreement with STEP to extend the termination date to May 31st, 2021. Hi, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning. This is an agreement with STEP to extend the agreement. The original contract date was February 7th, 2019, and we would like to extend it through the end of May 2021. This is for their Homes in Need program.
Okay. Motion to accept.
I'll move to accept.
I'll second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So carried.
The next item is to vote on subrecipient agreement with STEP Incorporated. And this is a 2017 agreement with STEP for the Community Development Block Grant Funds for $72,000 for their Homes in Need program. To date, STEP has received over $250,000 from the program and has helped about 26 households in Lycoming County. So this additional funding would continue the program.
Okay. I have motion to accept.
I'll move to accept.
I'll second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So carried.
I'm back on the line.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. We were worried about you for a minute.
I had to take a call from Anthony.
Okay.
The next item, 8.12, is Jenny again, and that's to vote on cooperative agreement with Montoursville Borough. All right, and this one is a 2019 Montoursville agreement. It's on behalf of community, so we administer these funds on behalf of Montoursville, and this is for funding to reconstruct the curb cuts and do handicap ramps to their borough building for $72,458. And it will also do a couple other improvements to their municipal building. And it's expected that the grant will be closed out in summer 2021.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept action item 8.12?
I'll move to approve action item 8.12.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So carried.
The next two items, before Jenny talks about those, I just want to make note that both of them are going to be contingent upon agency signing off on due to there being no meetings next week. We have this on for this week. So the first one is 8.13. It's to vote on amendment number 3 to cooperative agreement with West Branch Regional Authority to extend the termination date to May 31st, 2021.
All right, and this one is a time extension only. Like Maya said, this one will extend the termination date with West Branch Regional Authority for sewer lateral work in their service area.
I have a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried.
And the last one for Jenny is 8.14. It's to vote on amendment number 2 to professional administrative services agreement with CEDACOG.
All right, and this final block grant agreement involves CEDACOG's contract with the county for the professional service agreement. So there was a delivery fee in the fiscal year 2018 agreement between the county and CEDACOG for the Ralston generator project. And as the project progressed, it was done via forced labor account, so meaning they did their own work instead. So we had additional money that we had budgeted for in this contract that wasn't needed. So CEDACOG is removing that delivery fee of around $2,000, actually $2,220 for that project, and adding it to a different line item in the project for the Ralston project. So the total contract still remains the same of $100,220, but it's just reallocating it within the budget.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. A motion to accept.
I'll move to accept.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so
Let me
carried.
make a
Go
quick
ahead.
comment.
Yeah.
This shows you how the federal funds are tracked so closely. This was $2,220, that basically of a over $100,000 contract that was not being used the way it was initially supposed to be used, not because anyone did anything wrong, but because they used a different method of construction, but they have to account for it with paperwork and a contract that the auditors review. That's the kind of detail that's going to go into the whole COVID funds that we just approved. That's why it's so important for these folks to have everything buttoned up with costs and so forth. I just wanted to point that out to them.
That's a good point, because it's only 2%.
Yeah.
You have to.
And yet they regenerated all the,
Yep.
yeah. And that's how you avoid money getting missing, you know, at all levels, federal, state, local.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
The next two items are Jason York's 8.15 is vote on the undercarriage rebuild of Dozer 24 with Cleveland Brothers.
Morning, Jason.
Good morning, Commissioners. Before you for your approval is the undercarriage rebuild of a 2016 D6 dozer that we have. It is a Caterpillar. This is $25,923.28. This is our staff doing. We'll be bolting the pads back on and stuff, but we needed new chains, rollers, sprockets, and so forth. We got 6,000 hours out of this undercarriage, so it held up quite well for us. So we had this budgeted for this year. We also had it for next year, but we have the machine down in the shop, and we need to get it back up and running. So it's a little ahead of schedule, but we have the funds to cover it.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? A motion to accept.
I'll move to accept.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, so carried.
Thank you.
And the last item is vote on the engine rebuild of R34 with Sunbury Motors in the amount of $20,995.81.
Commissioners, this is a 2011 Western Star triaxle roll-off truck that we use for recycling. It has roughly 500,000 miles on it. The engine was experiencing blow-by. We're losing compression and stuff. So for the entire complete in-frame rebuild through Sunbury Motors, it's $20,995.81.
That seems very reasonable. What's the replacement cost of that truck?
You're probably right now about 160 to 180, Commissioner, 180,000. I will point out that This was the original price quoted to us. After they ordered parts, there was a misstep from Detroit Engines, and they come back and told us that we were going to need to spend another $15,000 to get the heads and injectors and the turbo. For the last week, I told them that wasn't going to happen. You told me it was a bill of goods. This is what I got approved for, and they come back and agreed it was their error. So we are getting a very good priced engine rebuild. The next time it would be around $35,000 or $36,000. So they held to their price that they gave me 2 weeks ago.
Well, thank you for those efforts, Mr. York.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a motion to accept?
I'll move to accept.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So carried. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Yep.
9.0, any commissioner comment?
I have two things. First of all, I forgot last week. I want to apologize. I want to thank Mayor Steve Bagwell of Montoursville and the Lycoming County Veterans Committee. They put on an amazing parade last Saturday. Williamsport had canceled the county Veterans Parade, and the mayor went to the committee and said that we could do a smaller version in Montoursville, and we had a tremendous turnout of residents, veterans, and participants, and it was a really fantastic job. So I want to thank the committee and the mayor for. They saw the ball was dropped. They knew they could do it safely. They did a smaller version, and it was just a very enjoyable parade. So I want to thank them for doing that and honoring our veterans. The other thing I want to address is the airport. I was contacted by a media outlet that American Airlines had pulled out. Once it was confirmed, I reached out to Richard Howell of the airport, asked him for a meeting with the three commissioners, and he did so last Friday via phone. He reassured us that the airport authority is diligently looking for another airline, and he hopes to have one in place after the first of the year. The airport will not sit vacant, and we will get a provider in to our airport and turn things around. I publicly stated I was not happy with American Airlines and the service that they've provided to us in the past. I don't feel that they were just really at any point in our corner. And I feel now that it's wide open. We can bring somebody to our airport that's going to service our customers. We wish American Airlines well and their other terminals, but it just wasn't a good partnership for Lycoming County. And so we look forward to having a new provider come in the future. And they're diligently working on that. And I think there'll be some good news after the first of the year, if not before the first of the year. That's all I have.
You know, I just want to comment on that, on what you just mentioned. It may be a blessing in disguise, because we've heard for multiple years that smaller carriers would not compete or try to move into this space because of the fact that they didn't want to offend American Airlines. When I say offend, I mean that they do business with American in other locations. So the fact that American has now said goodbye, it may actually help us with being able to get some smaller carriers who will. So with every door that closes, there's one that opens, and there might be a hangar opening over there for. I want to make a couple of comments here on the. Are you finished?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to just talk for a little bit with the community about the where we're at with the COVID-19. I think that we're really at a critical point here, based on what we see across the country, the state, and even in our own county. Cases are exploding. You know, we've had cases here in the county. In the county government itself, And we're at now actually one of 57 counties with what's called substantial transmission. So I think it's very important for all of us, especially as leaders, to make it absolutely clear that we need the public to engage in this effort to fight the pandemic, and by wearing masks, by trying not to go to high-risk events. What we find is that people are asymptomatic. They have the virus and they don't know it. There was an article in the Sun Gazette that I clipped where the CDC is now telling us that wearing masks protects us in two ways. It protects both the person who wears it and other people. And for a long time it wasn't a thought that it protected you wearing it, but it does. In fact, I think the numbers, they give some numbers. I think as a county, we need to be more proactive and vigilant. And I take responsibility for this also as a county commissioner. I think that I would give us a C in how we've been as a county. I like to get A pluses. Why do I say a C? I say that because I think that people have to take seriously this idea of wearing masks. Visitors are oftentimes in the building, they're not wearing them. Compare that to a state store. You can't even get in the state store. You can't get into some of these other places without a mask. I think that we need obviously all employees to wear them. I think that we need to do this because the kind of, we often talk about what we provide for service. We have essential and non-essential employees. Our essential employees are the prison guards, the 911, those types of operations. We need to make sure that our non-essential employees don't infect not only essential employees but other people in the community. So I think that we should talk as commissioners about going virtual with all non-essential employees, with a goal being to protect our essential employees as well as other members of the community. And I say that knowing what's going on with other companies. Major companies are staying virtual until April. Many counties in our area are virtual still. I don't know the names of all of them. I think Clinton may be, Clinton County. Baker Tilly, a big accounting firm that's the county uses, is virtual until April. The state is virtual until April. And I also think we should talk about investing our COVID funds in testing. Lock Haven University has spent over $300,000 testing to try to make sure that when they find someone who's positive, they isolate that person and they quarantine that person from other students. And they've been very successful in keeping the rates down. Now, they also have a school of public health up there, which helps them understand. And maybe we need to coordinate a little more with places like that. But I just think that we have the COVID funds from the government. We could begin to test, for example, in a particular office. Typically now we don't test until someone shows symptoms. But what we could do is, if we have a department where we've had cases, we could have everybody get tested. Now, a test is a moment in time, okay? So you test me on Tuesday, and as you pointed out to me yesterday, Elon Musk got different tests at different places.
You got 4 tests.
4 tests.
At the same location.
Right.
Same doctor, same nurse, same location. 2 positive, 2 negative, same exact day.
Yeah. So here's the thing, what we have to understand, I think, with this pandemic. We do our best, we do everything we can do, that's within reason, to try to make sure that we limit the exposure. Because I'm very concerned and that we see this in rural communities. I mean, I pick up the newspaper every night, the national newspapers, and I see rural communities all across the country being slammed. So I think we ought to have that. We should have that conversation here and in other places. So I just think that there's things that we can do to jump ourselves up from a C to an A plus. And since our first and foremost job is to try to keep our community safe.
Commissioner, do you have anything?
Are thank you for the prayers for my son who has COVID and having a hard time. This stuff is real, and there's no question about it. So I appreciate all the prayers that have been given to him, and keep them up.
How is he doing, Commissioner?
I just talked to him, and he sounded better. He's stable, and not out of the weeds, but is stable. So I gotta say that watching him progress through this pandemic is an eye-opening experience, and one that has certainly changed my attitude towards the danger of COVID. Although, regardless, cannot shut down an economy. It has much more devastating effects to our people. But Commissioner, I'm on board with you.
Yeah, and I would hope that if we take the actions I described, we wouldn't have to shut down the economy. That we would be able to, I looked at the directive from the governor's office, and there are 57 counties with this substantial transmission. So if we could get ourselves out of that list, it would help us tremendously. I pray for your son and hope that he does well. Is he still in the hospital?
Yes, he's been in there for, I believe, 10 days.
We can continue to pray. There's no playbook on this. There's no easy solution. I feel the county has done a very good job. I don't think we've done an average good job. I think we've done a very good job. Is there room for improvement? Absolutely. But from the beginning, we were concerned about our employees, about the people coming into our buildings. We did shut down initially. We have a COVID co-op team that's made up of our coroner, our director of public safety, several officials in the county government that meet on a regular basis to discuss the safety measures we should take, which we've done so. We've issued 16 different directives. We put a safety plan in operation for the buildings. We've done so much, and we spray our buildings down 3 times a day. We've put shields up, masks, everywhere possible to do what we can do to keep things operating. We heard the public say we need to have government open. There was closings for homes. Homes are at record sales. The pathonetry's office had to be open. The register and recorder had to be open. I don't like the term which we're changing. We're in a process right now of essential and non-essential employees. If a person's not essential, you won't have them doing a job. Everybody's essential works in this county. So those positions were created by previous administrations because they were necessary. So we're looking at 4 categories to rework those professionals, and they would be 24/7, which would include the prison, include 911. There would be operational. Those would be people that are on call that are necessary in their positions to keep public safety. There would be essential employees, mission essential, what we can refer to as mission essential, and then the last category would be essential as needed. But everybody is essential, and the policy that was set up with a mission essential and non-essential, that policy was geared towards a short-term pandemic. I don't want to say pandemic, short-term emergency, such as a flood or snow days, things like that. You get a foot of snow, and that's what it was geared towards. I think through the pandemic, it has taught businesses and government they have to have longer-term plans. They have to have longer-term plans, and very, very few businesses or organizations have ever planned for a pandemic. I just recently spoke to a nonprofit in our area that is able to sustain this because he said, fortunately, the leaders of that organization had put money aside, expecting someday we may have some kind of major emergency, a pandemic. And he says that's the only way their nonprofit is getting through this crisis. And they can get through it for a year, but they won't be able to get through it for a second year. Those are the few exceptions of where this happens. So I think, if anything, it's taught businesses and government to plan for the long term, because unfortunately the governors are in control right now. They do not, I don't want to say they do not, at least ours does not communicate with our local leaders and legislators, and does what he wants to do on his own according to what he feels is necessary and who he's speaking to, but it's certainly not us. And we cannot close down. We can take precautions to keep things open and safely. This is extremely serious. We know. We've seen it firsthand. We don't want anyone sick. And we'll continue to take the measures to keep things open safely. We will have a discussion amongst the three of us how we can improve. There's always room for improvement, and we'll continue to go that route. But we cannot shut down an economy again. If we do, businesses will be completely gone for good, and we will be in a depression without a doubt. And the ramifications of that shutdown will be far worse than the virus itself.
So the only thing I want us to try to, when we look at this, the paradigm is not shut down or stay open. That does not have to be the paradigm. The paradigm can be, let us conduct business, but let us do it in a way that keeps as many people who are not, if we call them essential, as needed, keeps them out of the flow of the virus, which is around us, right? Some people are carrying it who don't know they have it. By the way, I would, you're entitled to your opinion. I would not characterize the governor's response as that. I mean, I think the fact that, we get emails every day from from the governor and from the Rachel Levine, the Department of Health. I think part of the difficulty we have is that we are a county without a Department of Health. So we don't necessarily have the expertise that a place like Montgomery County might have. So, but anyway, I hope we don't have to see it as either open or shut. It could be, because my remarks were not suggested to say shut everything down. My remarks were to say, hey, people who can work from home should work from home. Even these public meetings. Most institutions are not having public meetings like this. They're doing them virtually. So that's part of what I'm trying to get at. But anyway, I don't want to beat a dead horse. I know that we got other...
Thank you for your comments, and we'll definitely have the discussion amongst the three of us. Okay. Any public comment at this time? Yes, sir. Can you state your name for the record, please?
Sure. Would you?
Yeah, yes, please. We have a microphone for everybody. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for entertaining public comments.
Yes. Can you state your name for the record?
My name is Jonathan Skolnick. I live at 937 Campbell Street in Williamsport.
Hang on one second. Commissioner, can you hear him? Commissioner?
Sorry, I can just barely make it out.
Can you take down your mask, please? Thank you. There we go.
You might have to be closer to the mic.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll see what I can do. How's that?
How do you spell your last name?
SCHOLNICK.
Okay.
So I'm here to humbly offer my perspective about the COVID pandemic as a resident of Williamsport. So the Pennsylvania Department of Health responded aggressively in the spring, as we saw. It was painful for so many. And we were able to adapt our practices to some extent over the summer as the threat of the contagious virus declined. Our county has done, I would characterize it as a mixed effort, a mixed record to mitigate this danger with low levels of community transmission, but sadly the most serious impacts to our community have been the clusters of infections and deaths at the long-term care facilities. There were over 36 deaths in Jersey Shore, I believe, and others perhaps. So many of us enjoyed a summer spent largely outdoors, utilizing our parks and forests in the area. However, the last 2 weeks we've entered a really dangerous new phase of the pandemic, and in which the spread of of COVID in our community, as Commissioner Mirabito mentioned, has become substantial. There's more COVID in our community now than ever, more than March, more than April, more than the summer surge. And what I would, with these increase in cases, we'll soon be seeing increased hospitalizations and the use of ICU beds, which are not a unlimited resource in our community, obviously. So we saw how dangerous this is when health systems become overloaded in places like New York, Northern Italy, Spain. Now we're seeing this in Texas, South Dakota, many other parts of our country. So as this horrifying situation progresses, we're seeing refrigerated trailers being used to store victims of this pandemic. And these warning signs are clear. We've seen increases in the case positivity rate. We've seen increases in the numbers of new infections every week. And the people facing isolation, quarantine, and even hospitalization, those are also really negative economic impacts on our community that we want to avoid. Just like shutting down, how painful that was, days and days in a hospital or without work, those are also very expensive. So I just wanted to enter, to provide this comment, to say I don't think it's unreasonable to ask members in our community to take these precautions that.
You have to speak up, John. Can you hear him, Commissioner Massare?
Yes, I did hear him, and he made some very good comments.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Speak louder because.
Okay. I'll try. So the more we do now, the less painful it is this winter. No one wants to return to lockdown. No one wants to spend time in isolation, quarantine, where we can't go to work, our kids can't go to school, or perform any of the daily activities, patronizing local businesses, etc. Worse yet, there are many in our community that are elderly or suffer from health conditions that make COVID particularly deadly. While I know that people in Lycoming County value our rights and individual liberties, we must also recognize that others have the same rights. Spreading a potential debilitating or even deadly disease, of course, infringes on others' individual rights to participate in normal daily activities. So we must recognize our own responsibility to give up some of those liberties in order to protect others, just as we do when we drive our cars on the streets and highways of our community, for example. That's why we should take a moment at this particularly critical point in the pandemic to reevaluate the ways that we go about our daily activities in the public sphere outside the privacy of our own homes. But what can we do to mitigate COVID in our community? I'm humbly asking the government in the pandemic to, I know that you guys have worked so hard to make sure that federal relief funds from the CARES Act have been distributed. It's commendable. Really amazing to keep our businesses and nonprofits afloat. So what I would like to see, though, is since we don't have a public health department, I would really love to see increased leadership in asking people to take public health measures, like wearing face coverings while in public, asking businesses to encourage people to wear face coverings in grocery stores or other places, requiring public employees like our first responders, bus drivers, etc., to model this proper mask wearing behavior. And actually, I believe you guys were just talking about this, to try to move, I guess, what could be characterized as non-essential business, or perhaps remote possible business, to Zoom or Microsoft Teams, like what we have been doing in other sectors, like in teaching where I work. And remind people to consider many ways of creatively adapting their social practices, like gathering at Thanksgiving, to perhaps outside rather than inside, or increasing the space between people, or having these conversations about what safety measures people are comfortable with. Communication is really a key tool in this. And using masks when possible, even when you're getting together with as few other households as possible. So we must recognize that without a vaccine here yet, although we've heard encouraging news about the vaccines that are in the pipeline, we probably won't see that until middle of next year at the earliest for the first categories. It's imperative to do that work now, and so that we can keep each other safe and recognize other people's liberties. So that's all I have. I have a couple of bullet points, and would you like me to leave a copy?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your comments. Any other public comment this time? Okay, hearing none, we are adjourned. We will not have any meetings next week due to the holiday week. Thanksgiving. Everybody enjoy your Thanksgiving season. We'll meet again on December 1st, Tuesday, at 10 a.m. here, and we'll start off the new month at that time. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Maya, thank you for joining us and running the meeting.
In the record.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you. Commissioner, I'll call you in a little bit. Don't forget your baby.
Oh, yeah.
Take care.
Yeah.
Hi, Chuck. How you doing? Good. How are you doing? Yeah, you want a list of the businesses?
There were two different groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was.
Yeah. Well, one was.
That's a great program.
You have a list of the one that wasn't provided.
Take
Yeah.
care. Good to see you. Be safe. Where do you teach?
I'm at Lycoming and Bucknell.
Oh, great.
Oh, okay.
We teach like how many what subject?
I'm in archaeology and anthropology.
Nice. Great. I had anthropology in college. I enjoyed that subject.
Yeah.
He has a son at Lycoming.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a criminal justice.
Oh, yeah.
He's 6'7". He's not hard to find. Plays basketball on the team, and
oh, terrific.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's a freshman.
Oh, wow.
We just got a letter from the dean up there, and he said they've only had 8 cases, which has been tremendous.
Yeah. Yeah.
They do testing there, or they quarantine?
No. So they quarantine upon return,
right.
Which is it's going to be a problem because now the states that are supposed to quarantine are basically all of our neighbors and many of the others in the country.
So the kids are going home for Thanksgiving, and then they're going to come back.
Yeah, and I don't know if they even have room for. They're trying to figure out.
Yeah,
how to solve
I know they've used the dorms over at Little League in the fall.
Yeah.
They had them over there initially.
Yeah.
So for the kids that were out of state, but 8 cases. I mean, they've done a great job up there.
Yeah, I think we've been pretty lucky. We dodged a bullet with the level of COVID in the community. Yeah. Bucknell saw a recent spike in their numbers, and they're actually they're talking about doing